Self creates entire worlds through feeling. Self is feeling. Consider a witch with her spells, broom, wand, and cauldron. In and of themselves, these things are nothing. What is missing is the animating force of self. A reality, or more accurately, a fantasy, is created from how the witch feels about those things. She finds self in the smells of her brews, in the texture of her wand, in the words she speaks, the tone of voice she adopts, the posture she assumes, in the feelings, memories, and imaginings about what she is doing, and in the feelings she believes she is inducing in others. There is no self in her brew. It is empty of self. But to her it feels familiar. She finds self in it. The insanity of this is easy to see in extreme worlds like witchcraft, Satanism, or shamanism. But it is what happens to every human being. The self constructs entire worlds, corporate worlds, families, religions, and then despises what it considers to be other. A Muslim self, for example, might feel deeply uncomfortable in a German pub. The smell of beer, the laughter, the exposed flesh, all of it would seem unacceptable. In reality, there is nothing wrong with any of it. What happens when you experience reality as it actually is, when there is no self distorting it with its feelings? You see the infinite in everything. Everything is God, completely empty of self. Nostalgia is self. The only reason certain memories make you feel nostalgic is that you believe there is a you in them. Sentimentality is self. The Quran might hold sentimental value for a Muslim. A Turk might treat the Turkish flag with reverence, but burn the flags of nations he despises and does not identify with. Anger is self. The only reason you are angry is that you believe there is a you being impinged upon. The trickiest self of all is the spiritual self, which gives rise to entire spiritual worlds. A spiritual person might find self in statues, incense, cushions, temples, teachers, garments, communities, nature, and practices. The spiritual person chases the spiritual feeling. True spirituality, however, is the annihilation of self, including the spiritual self. If you cannot see that your toilet is no less a part of God than a forest, you are not awake. The Psychonaut self is tricky too, perhaps even trickier. Whatever you see during a psychedelic trip is your own psyche, your own self. A perfect example is Terence McKenna, who became enamored with the contents of his own psyche, gnomes, machine elves, entities, and whatever else he saw or heard, and mesmerized others with them. This is not to say that psychedelics cannot aid in the annihilation of self. It is simply crucial to understand that before this obliteration can occur, you are taken through many layers of your own psyche, and you must be careful not to get stuck anywhere or mistake any layer for ultimate truth. If you have not reached pure consciousness, you are still moving through states of consciousness generated by self and its feelings. Pure consciousness is pure because it is pure of self. You have to begin seeing the self as a blemish that clouds your vision, God's vision. Because of the self's feelings, you are never able to experience things as they truly are. You never experience God as God truly is. The self distorts everything. That is why you must love God more than anything else, more than others, more than self. Your feelings do not matter. God matters. There is one self even trickier than the spiritual self or the psychonaut self, and that is the basic human self, the notion of being an entity on a planet among other beings, with a family and a society. Until you realize that you are the only thing in existence and that everything else is a fabrication, you remain trapped in self-deception. You are completely and utterly alone as God. Survival happens first and foremost on a cognitive affective level, not a physical one, because the self is not physical. It is a psychological and emotional process. These processes give rise to elaborate social worlds that seem important, and you are trying to survive in those worlds as a specific thing. When you were in school, for instance, you had to survive recess somehow, and you had to survive it in a particular way. Perhaps you needed to be seen as someone who has friends. Being seen alone was a death sentence. Now that seems trivial. You grow older and find yourself trying to survive in the corporate world, believing that now survival really is important and serious. But survival is never important or serious. It only appears that way. How could it be, when it is bound to fail in the end? In the end, only truth remains, not self. The virtual realities that the self creates are not real. They happen on a mental level. You can return to the physical building of your school, but it will not be the same reality. The reality you knew existed only in your mind. It was never an objective, external, physical thing. Why do we go to the cinema? To have an emotional experience, and a very specific kind of emotional experience, which is what genres exist for. If you want the feeling of falling in love, you watch a romance. If you want dread, you watch horror. If you want to cry, you watch a drama. If you want to laugh, a comedy. Your life is no different. It is a film. God is the ultimate filmmaker, generating emotional experiences through the self. As you move through your life, you are presented with visuals and sensations, but they are filtered through the cognitive distortions of the self. You have emotional reactions to what you are seeing. You are not seeing things as they actually are, because then there would be no film. There would be only pure being. Losing the film of your life, losing yourself, is one of the most excruciatingly difficult things you can endure, after which you will never experience life in the same way again. You can even have a spiritual film or a psychedelic film, and those are the hardest to wake up from. Just because you have done a few psychedelic trips, or consider yourself spiritual, a meditator, or even a contemplative, does not mean you are awake to being God, being alone, being determined. Worlds are created on the basis of what we value, which is why it is so difficult to exist in what is considered the world after an awakening. The world's values are completely worthless, or worse, harmful. The world does not exist independently of us. We are making it up by creating distinctions with words, concepts, beliefs, narratives, and roles, and by investing those ideas with value. President, king, celebrity, icon, country, flag, artifact, all of these are such distinctions. But most fundamentally, we value existence, life, and the body. What we do not value is truth, because truth has nothing to do with survival. People are willing to suffer and die for a president, but not for the truth, because the truth will leave them without purpose or meaning, a meaningless life and a meaningless death. People would rather believe that dying for their country means something, or that slaving away at a company is a worthwhile endeavor. We do this for the selfish purpose of extracting emotional experiences from a world that revolves around what we find valuable, a world revolving around me. It is me. You look at the flag and you see yourself instead of the infinite.